A little over a month ago, during my very first live stream that I did here on the channel, I offered you guys to send me some of your underwater video productions, and I would be more than happy to review them and give you my feedback on it. Now, just a day after I announced this, Juhani Väihkönen, a long-time follower of the channel, has actually taken that opportunity and sent me one of his videos, and in today's video, we'll be reviewing his video. Coming up. And welcome back to the Underwater Filmmaking School and today's video. First of all, let me say sorry for not having uploaded a lot of videos. Lately I have been very busy basically with moving to a new place. As you can see, this is a new place that I'm in here. It's my new studio slash office space, and I'm still trying to figure out a way of how this is going to work for my YouTube videos. There's going to be different setups in here, and this might be one of them. So let me know how you like this setup, if I should keep this or if I should be looking for something else. Also, I want to thank Juhani for submitting the video and letting me review it here publicly on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. And now, with no further ado, let's get right into Juhani's video. If you haven't seen it before, I'll put a link to the video down in the video description below, and it's also going to be linked up here in the card section, so you can go and check that video first and then come back and watch the review or my feedback of that video. Now, it is not a typical underwater production in the terms of seeing underwater scenery and fish and all that sort of stuff. Juhani took a different approach and shot a video with a freediving model in a pool in Finland where he lives. From what he's told me in the email that he sent me, the video link as well, is that he shot this video entirely on his Canon R5. And that he was trying to play around with slow motion and speeding up and all that sort of stuff. The goal of the video, as far as I understand, was to make a one-shot video clip of a performance of that free diving lady in that pool. And he took different approaches. I'm not really going to go too much into reviewing like the topside part of it, where Juhani talks about his project and all that sort of stuff. But what I really liked is when you started getting into the water and you would actually give us a bit of a behind the scenes look with the cameras that you've positioned in the water and outside of the water, and then just having a time lapse basically run of how the shoot went. I really found that very interesting, just to basically see how you run the shoot and what happened, and doing that in a time-lapse kind of mode really worked for me. I did think though that it was a little too long, the whole time-lapsing thing, but then eventually you started mixing in the actual shots that you took during the shoot with the time-lapse, and that kind of made it a little more interesting again for me. So I probably would have just kept the pure time-lapse stuff at the beginning a little shorter and started mixing in the clips, the actual clips that you shot a little earlier. So let's talk about the actual shot now. Now, you had two variations in your video. The first one was the entire shot slowed down. I assume you shot it at 120p and then slowed it down to 24p, I would assume. I thought that this sequence was just a little too long. It looks very nice, it looks cinematic, but as you mentioned yourself in your video, the camera lost focus a couple of times, and that's noticeable. You can see that. And I just think it's a little too long. There's not very much happening in the shot. There's not a lot of action in the shot, and you could use this slowing down effect, I would say, for shorter periods or shorter clips. But for a clip this long, there's just too little change in it for me personally. The second one I liked much better, where you had the same clip but you would use cuts and close-up shots put in between or overlaid where the autofocus failed on that one single clip. For me, that's kind of made this whole clip a little more intimate. It made it more versatile, and there was just more happening within that clip. also with the different speeds that you were using in that clip. I really liked that, where certain movements were enhanced by speeding them up, and then other movements were just kept very, very cinematic and slow and epic, really, by slowing the footage down to its maximum possibilities. So I personally prefer the second clip. I think it is, from the length of it, it is not too long, it's not too short, and it's just more versatile than the first one, as my personal opinion. So how did I like the general idea of such a video, and how was it actually produced? Personally, I think that the idea is really cool. I like the idea of having a cinematic shot like that, and I think you did a very good job in actually creating that. I know from personal experience that it can be very hard shooting in a swimming pool environment, and there's certain things that you need to consider. A few things that I would have probably done slightly different is with the background. I do like that you have actually taken the time to put an extra background inside the swimming pool, so to kind of get away from the ambience of being inside a swimming pool. Black also works for me in that sense here, in that situation. What I would have probably tried to do is to open up the aperture a little more, and just blur out the background a little more as well, because at some stages throughout the video you can actually see the wrinkles and the crackles and all that sort of stuff in the background, and I don't really like that too much. So I would have preferred if you'd have taken the time to just blur out the background. Maybe you'd also have to use a ND filter on your lens to be able to actually open the aperture more without blowing out the highlights of the shots. So that's probably one thing. Autofocus, I'm not entirely sure if I would have shot this scene with the autofocus on. I know the Canon does have a good autofocus system and that it works quite reliably, but we've seen that in the water sometimes you do have some particles there, and it makes it really difficult for the camera to keep proper focus on the exact place that you want it to be. So I think I would have tried to just use the autofocus to set the focal distance, then switched it over to manual focus and just left it there, because I assumed that your model was going to go up and down basically along the same line, so that from like the depth it wouldn't change too much and the focal point wouldn't be going back and forth too much. So that's probably something that I would have tried, just to make sure that you do keep proper focus throughout the entire video. And last but not least, I want to mention the music. I think that the choice of music that you've picked for this piece is very suitable. I think that it kind of helps the whole cinematic feel of this piece. It just works very well within it. So good job picking that music there. Summing it up, I think that you have created a very nice piece of underwater imagery there, Juhani. There's little bits and pieces, as I mentioned before, that I personally would have done differently. But then again, this is a personal opinion. It doesn't mean that the approach that you have taken is not at least as good as the approach that I would have taken. I'm just sharing my opinion here on things that I might have done slightly differently. But as I said, all in all, a really nice production. Very happy that you've sent me this video, and very happy that I was able to review it here on the channel. Now, how did you guys like Juhani's video? Please let us know down in the comment section below. I'm sure that Juhani would appreciate getting some feedback from you guys there as well. Oh, and by the way, if you do want to have your own underwater video reviewed here on the channel, feel free to send me a link to the uploaded video to contact@matthiaslebo.com, and I'll be more than happy to review it here as part of this review series on my channel. So that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's video and the new format that we are introducing here on the channel, please do not forget to hit that like button and also consider subscribing so you're not missing out on any future content that will be uploaded here on the channel. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you in the next one.